Illinois, our folks have been going.
Right here, it's pouring out of the ground.
What's that?
It's pouring out of the ground as we speak.
What's that?
It's right here. Read it for yourself.
Yes, sir. We're aware of the decay. We can't.
They've already detected one. Now they detect the second. To answer your question, the EPA terrorized them. They moved them a level of violation. And done. That's what happened. And those people up there are that's what happened. Tell the truth. It's the truth.
I'm not denying it, sir. We do. Our folks have been going through. Not arguing, sir.
The second one is leaking out, and they're doing nothing about it because they can't stop it. You cannot stop it when you start.
I hear you.
You know it, I know, but you know it because you're a reporter, not a geologist. But you can't stop it. It cannot be stopped until it's depressurized. It cannot be stopped.
Understood, sir. In the case.
Once the trail cracks, it's done. Whether it's from pressure, whether it's from anything, after this is resolved, the other layers of rock down here, then there will be no way to shut it off until the pressure stops. That may be 20 years down the road, 25 years down the road. Now these injection companies, these oil companies and all the others, they will set these companies, these injection wells off into a separate corporation. And once that drilling is done, they will buy a security bond and place it in that trust like we talked about. And then they're going to bankrupt that company. And there will be nobody to be held liable. And also, where is our tax assessor at? The tax assessor better know that the land value around here will go to zero. Because nobody wants to live off this stuff and sleep on top of it at nighttime. Or under your pond, there's no way to shut it off. You will not be able to run fast enough to get away from it, or drive fast enough. And I don't care even where the jelly is back there.
I just wanted to understand. I didn't know all that. That's why I don't like public. All right, my next question is, okay.
But to finish what we're talking about with, I know with one of the Decatur wells, our folks have been, ever since we first heard about that leak, our staff have been saying,
Okay.
what information can we get on what went wrong?
Right.
And they've got a design on that well that we cannot understand what they were thinking. Basically, you had your well down in the injection zone. You have your tubing that's doing the injecting. There's the casing outside of that. And they have a rubber steel packer. For some reason, above that packer, which is supposed to not be a major line of defense, your casing is, they perforated in their casing outside that zone so that when the packer did give way, instead of that staying contained in the casing, it went out into formation. We cannot fathom why they designed it that way. We would never approve a design like that.
How old are these whales? How old are these whales?
That one, I want to say it's about mid to early 2010s. It's about 10, 15 years old.
So this has only been going on for 20 years or so. So it's that basically new technology is what we're
to a degree, yes. Every part of what we're looking at we've done before. We've done injection wells. We've done permanent, injection. We've injected gases like methane, things like that. We've injected carbon dioxide, though that's, going to be EOR, where most of it's coming back up, so it's not permanent. What's new about this is putting all those together and where you're going to be injecting CO2 permanently. That's the big difference.
All right, two more questions. One is, does this give the state the right to sequester our water wells per se, something happens, so the state comes in and takes over our mineral rights because they have a problem 15, 20 miles down the road with the well. How big is the injection site below? I know you got to determine how big that spot is below my feet.
We can't. The issue being, can you drill through a CO2 layer to get to that oil and gas? From an engineering perspective, yes, it can be done. Folks have drilled through high pressure zones before,
Right.
but it's going to cost a lot more. So all of a sudden, something that might have been economic now just costs too much to try. That's a very real concern. A lot of that
Property and what down there for whatever, he's automatically devalued by water because the drilling for the oil will be more expensive.
it certainly could. I can't say that it definitely does. It
You
doesn't.
said it would take more to get through
Yes,
it.
it definitely.
Okay. And all right, my last question is, once the breach or whatever has taken place, you said that the company has already been around to the volunteer fire departments and all emergency agencies to control the I don't know what you call it, the blow up.
The release.
The release. So are they responsible for paying for the education of the volunteer fire department? Do we going to have another emergency agency just to handle the CO2 because it's new, it's going to be big?
Well, a lot of it,
individual things.
if you have something like that going down, the main responder is going to be state police. State police always deals with that. You know, if it's a mass casualty like that, they're going to be dealing with that. And one of the reasons you want to reach out to your local emergency preparedness is they're probably going to hear about it, know about it first. They're the ones that are going to get called. So you want them to be able to understand what they might be dealing with. But when it comes to an emergency response for an accident of that sort, at the end of the day, that's going to be state police.
All right. Like James Arms, I got one more comment that I want to make to the public concerning the horses on 111, 117, 118 down 111. Before someone dies, would you please inform all the sheriff's department, state police, whoever you got contact with, including the legislatures, to make something happen to prevent them? Simple scenario. Me and 3 guys walking around the school with loaded pistols in my arm. What do you think the deputy's going to do? Hey, there's an idiot with some guns. First thing they're going to do, hey, you're going to look at him and they're going to start shooting. Okay, what's the point? The point is, we're protecting our children. To protect my daughter and my 2 grandchildren that had a wreck on them horses, these horses are a danger. Looking at something 15 years down the road. Right now, they've had over 30 to 40 wrecks on these horses. Until you public start standing up like the other guy said a while ago, something's going to happen. So I would urge everyone to do something in a respectful way, to try to do something with these horses. Thank you for your time.
Okay, like this. All right, I'm nervous. So, can you hear me now? Good. All right. I got pretty simple questions, really. What would it take for you to deny this permit? Because at this point, I don't believe there's anything that'll get this permit denied.
To put it simply, we have to see something that tells us you can't contain that CO2 where you say you can. A fault, some issue with the confining layer, like you're telling us this confining layer is thick enough and wide enough that we see that it pinches out somewhere that's well before well within that area of review, so that either pressure could build up or carbon could slip up. That would be, there probably could be other things, but I mean, the bottom line is something that says to us, when you inject that carbon, it's not going to stay where you put it. It's going to have a pathway to move up.
So the only thing that's going to save us is some geological oddity, is what you're saying?
Not necessarily an oddity. It might be something that folks are well aware of that just hasn't, been in evidence yet. Somebody might have some information that other folks don't. That we try to require them to go through a lot to make this pitch. but there's always a chance somebody has some information that changes the game.
So you said there's going to be money put aside for contingencies and cleanups. We don't know what to do with the CO2 now. What are you going to do to clean it up? What's the money for?
Main thing would be to, if you've done damage, to repair whatever damage. To if you've got something where you've got an operator who walked away, to be able to plug and clean up the sites and do the and cover the expenses of the monitoring. And also, if you have a situation where you can do groundwater remediation, do something to you've got gas where it shouldn't be, and you can get it out to pay for costs of things like that.
I don't know if you answered my question or not. Did he?
Repeat the question. I thought I had.
What are you going to do to clean it up? I
Well,
don't understand.
if it's a case of carbon dioxide in the water, you can see if you could, let's say, remediate the water, get the gas out, do something to remove that gas, like a scavenger well that's pulling from the zone that pulls the carbon up, and you get it out of there so that you've got you're lowering the carbon content down there. That'd be one thing. I mean, it would depend on what's going wrong to what you're doing to either repair the well or repair the issue you're having where there's been a leak of some kind, or to make whole folks who've been damaged at surface.
All right. Has there ever been any leaks before? And if so, what have they done to clean it up?
With the CO2, we haven't done carbon sequestration permanently down here. This is the first time we're permitting. As we were talking about before, there's an issue up in Decatur, Illinois, where they did. I don't think it made it to groundwater. I'd have to double check, but I know it got out of zone on them. It's like I said, their well design for some reason had a perforation in the. It did get up into the aquifer there. We're trying to make sure that CO2 is as pure as it can be.
Is that true?
Near as I can tell from what he's describing, I don't know that I agree, but. Scavenger wells would be one of them.
So, okay, thanks. So we don't know how to clean it up, really. I mean,
It would depend on the accident you're talking about and what exactly happened. There are methods. Groundwater remediation of different things has been done.
If one of these layers fails and it comes through the aquifers, it comes out into the atmosphere, there's no cleanup that could be. We don't know. We just have really good ideas.
We have ideas that have been applied before with other situations that would work here. We just haven't had the situation happen.
To get rid of CO2.
There have been folks there's been remediation of CO2 and other stuff.
Then why do we got to pump it into the ground if we know how to deal with it?
Because there are operators who want to do it, and the law says that they can, so we try to do everything we can to make it as safe as possible.
All right. Thanks for your time.
to tell you, like the lady said earlier, I'm not the scientific type. What I am is somebody who came from nothing and managed to buy me 10 acres of land to leave to my children, to leave to my grandchildren. Now, if they come and they pump this, you say a 1 mile radius. My research says 4 miles.
No,
If
ma'am,
it
not
leaks
saying 1 mile
out-
radius. We don't, not setting a specific radius. It would depend on.
Well, what I have researched says that if it leaks, everything in a 4 mile radius dies. I've seen it. I've researched it. Not just the water, the bugs, the crickets, the birds, the trees, the grass, dead. Every bit of it. Now you tell me what my children are going to do with dead ground. How are they going to grow crops? How are they going to build their houses? Why do they want to build on dead ground? Explain that to me. If they can split the CO2, like I've already researched, they can split it into different chemicals. Why do they need to combine it and shove it down in the earth in Louisiana? Why don't they go find somewhere where there is no life? My God, there's so many different places they can go and they can pump this into the ground and just leave us alone. I mean, I'm not wanting anybody else to have it either. I think they should stop completely. I think they should go more into researching how to split it up than trying to kill us with it. So if they can split it, why are you not fighting for them to split it instead of helping them put it underneath us?
That's above our jurisdiction. All we can do is regulate the law as it's been put to us. It says they can do it. We do what we can to try to make it as safe as we can.
Do you live here?
Here, no, ma'am. I live in Louisiana.
Sorry. So where in Louisiana you live and how close is your well?
How close is my what?
How close is the well they pumped up underneath you?
We've got, where I live is bracketed by pipelines, a couple of gas and hazardous liquids pipelines. I've got family in Livingston where they've got one of these proposed for Lake Marpot at the south of them, and then in North Livingston also they have one proposed.
My next question. If they pump it up under you, can you afford to walk away?
I'm probably not going to be inclined to, but I understand other folks feel different.
No, because when we fight to get what we've got, we don't intend on walking away.
Understood.
We work too hard to get there. I mean, come on. It's real simple. If it's doing what he said in the well, somebody had to approve that.
Yeah, EPA is the one to approve those wells.
Approve those wells, and now they're blowing up all over the place. So when they approve it here, it's not when it falls. It's going to fall. It's going to go. It's it. There is no if. It's when.
Thank you, sir, for being here, and the representatives also to be here. I've come to the conclusion, though, that you're not the one man that's going to fix this. And I think I speak for everybody in here. We don't want this stuff here, period. We don't want it. Elections have consequences. I know you've heard that before. But my question is, why are we doing this at all?
That one's, again, above our pay grade.
Above your pay grade, but I want you to take this back to wherever you need to take it to the man that's going to fix this. Okay? What's the current level of CO2 right now? Do you know?
Like atmospheric?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to use this man's example, but you can also Google it. It's 0.0. Okay? What is danger low when it gets low and the trees start dying like they are right now? Do you know that?
No, sir. Like I said, we don't work. We don't have any authority over the capture.
I want you and my representative to take this back to whoever's going to fix this. And danger low means the trees and the grass start dying. I don't know if any of you have noticed all the trees that are dying and falling around down here. Maybe we're too low on it already. Where does this come from? Why are they taking the CO2 anyway? Why are they capturing it in the first place? Why?
I know the big argument is they want to manage how much carbon gets out in the air, but I know there's lots of debate back and forth on whether that needs to happen or maybe shouldn't happen and that sort of thing.
Tax break. Okay. It all has to do with this climate change bullshit.
Yes.
It does. Climate change bullshit. Along with all the damn planes that's flying over there that's spraying us. Okay, there's a new sheriff in town, and he said the Green New Scam is over with. And by God, we need to get on board.
Hi, I'm Linda Nichols. I live in Pitkin, and full disclosure, the Crosby Pasture Denbury hub is right under my house, and so I am 100% against what Exxon, Denbury, whoever's trying to do. I have a few questions, a few comments, and a few suggestions. First off, I appreciate that you share the process of how you do things. But your process is kind of stupid when you don't start with the stakeholders and ask the people what they want. Because I don't think there's anybody in this room that wants this. And if you would have started with that, who's for it, who's against it, and you see that nobody in here wants this, you could have saved yourself a lot of trouble going through permit this and permit that. Okay? You talk about calling balls and strikes. We are mad because we are not even in the game yet. Okay? The lack of transparency is ridiculous, and it needs to start with the people. We the people. Okay? A question, environmental impact statements. Have you received any? Like, what's the process for that?
Basically, what we're doing in reviewing the permit, it's not named environmental impact statement, but that's what you're doing is determining what the impact would be.
So, how truthful are they about the dangers?
Say again?
How truthful are they going to be about the dangers?
As far as that's why we have staff who are familiar with design, geology on this to determine whether what they say as far as how this is going to work and how safe it is. That's our folks' job is to determine whether that looks like it holds water.
So when you talk about the need for monitoring, in case it moves, just the fact that you know it could possibly move should be enough to say, don't put that poison in our ground. I mean, that's a no-brainer. You know, we are the sportsman's paradise. Our water is important in this state. And so doing anything that could potentially hurt that is not good for the people. It's not to benefit the people. And to my knowledge, you worked.
Information from that, I can't tell you every single line of it, but whatever information they're feeding into the Class 6 application, when that goes to the Class 6 application goes to public comment, it's going to be out there.
Where are the public meetings going to be held?
Probably the way we've been doing it is reach out to the parish and give them to give a best suggestion on a venue, on what venue, because the police jurors, the parish council, they're going to know where the best venues are to catch those folks.
So you're going to come to Vernon Parish?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because holding them in Baton Rouge doesn't do us any good.
Very much understand that. Yes, ma'am.
We are people that work for a living. So I do appreciate you coming. That's all the questions I have right now.
Are you going to be going back and still have the classified information from those tests?
Information from that will be in the Class 6. I mean, if they're doing any seismic, that's going to be iffy because landowners, mineral rights owners get real protective over who gets out to get the seismic data. But whatever information as far as what the cores tell you about what these things are made of, that's going to be cooked into the Class 6 application.
But once we push the Class 6 out, so we can have our representation, our leadership, the voters involved, can reach out and get that document, that information.
Get the information that's cooked into the Class 6 app. If I'm understanding you right, yes. For which next one?
The Class 5,
Which meeting are you talking about, though? Oh, when you get to public comment, yes, that has to. They have to put that out there so folks can see what they're commenting on. Yes.
Thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
My name is John West. I'm from Sligo, Louisiana. I just happen to dabble in a little bit of environmental science and background. So a couple of questions and first couple of clarifications. The individual before me spoke of EIS, right, Environmental Impact Statement. Those are based off a National Environmental Policy Act of 1969. One of the things I'm still digging into is one of the things that triggers NEPA is commitment of federal funds to a project that could have significant impact, right? That's federal law, right? I did see an EIS for the direct air capture facilities through the Department of Education. If you got your flyers, there's a couple QR codes for some Facebook groups. I'll be sure to post the link to where that EIS is located. The draft version is supposed to be out in June of 2025. And normally I wouldn't have been as concerned. I'm concerned for the holistic state of Louisiana, right? But part of that EIS stated that although the facilities are located in Benton, Louisiana, and one in Caddo Parish, that is where the proposed action is supposed to take place. And the question to be answered in the public scoping of that document was, should federal funds be committed for the construction, operation, maintenance, and closing of those facilities? That was the only question to be answered, which I've done NEPA for a little while. But part of that proposed action in the summary stated that a specific company, which is odd to me, Capture Point LLC, is going to be the ones to transport that product, if you will, from those two facilities to central Louisiana, right? Now, if there's these Class 6 injection wells proposed all over the state of Louisiana, the first way you mitigate risk is to reduce risk. That's how you do it. And to reduce that risk, you would put that in a Class 6 well closer to those facilities as opposed to pumping it all the way to central Louisiana. That's common sense. I don't need a degree in environmental management to know that. All right, a couple questions. First, what other state agencies are working with you, if at all, through this permitting process for Class 5 and or 6 wells?
That would be just us.
Okay, so you're not working with DEQ or nobody on this. It's wholly DNR.
We've been basically deputized by the EPA. That's the point of the primacy.
Yeah. And DEQ has issued primacy for the Resource Conservation Recovery Act, which is my next point, right? So direct air capture is basically, if you don't understand, it's basically a great big vacuum machine that sucks air, pulls carbon out, they chemically treat it by excessive heat, liquefies it, and sends it to wherever they want to go, right? The other point is point source grab, right? So that's where you get your petrochemical, your oil industries, your refineries. You're going to capture it there, and then you're going to treat it to a point where it can be transported and moved. Under the Resource Conservation Recovery Act, waste is defined as a product or material that can be no longer used for its intended purpose. The only way to determine what kind of disposal requirement for those waste is waste characterization, right? You have RCRA D and RCRA C. RCRA C is what I'm more concerned about, because if we pull this from an industrial source, I'm a scientist, I'm not an expert, science can be rebuked every day of the week, but I have a hard time understanding how we can stand here and say that CO2 is the only thing that would be put in that well. It's an industrial process. There will be byproducts. It's a waste byproduct of an industrial process. My fear is that it will have hazardous waste characteristics, specifically corrosivity. So I'd be interested to see how DEQ is going to play into the characterization of the waste prior to injection, if you indeed are the only holder of the platform right now.
On the injection side, yeah, coming out of the plants, DEQ might have a role, and then we're going to be sampling what comes through to the injection sites to make sure it's as pure as it can be.
Okay, there's more to that, and I'll take that for another day, but thank you for that answer. Second quick question is you discussed monitoring wells for groundwater. So who here digs a hole in the ground and hits water 10, 15 feet? If you got an agricultural well, maybe 40, 50, 60 feet, right? So there's different layers of groundwater. Part of the geology's purpose is to filter things as it goes through it, right, to get towards the aquifer. So my question to you is, if this is going to be indeed a monitoring well, is the depth supposed to go to or through the aquifer, and will they be screened at intervals?
There will be different wells. You'll have some wells that are dedicated to the groundwater at different intervals, and then also wells into the injection zone to pick up pressure and CO2 to see how that's changed. If I'm understanding.
Right, that's pressure. I'm talking for analyticals for contamination.
There will, yes, for drawing on looking for changes in chemistry, things like that, and the groundwater, yes.
Okay. Last thing is, are you going to sample soils? We are the drainage basin for basically the Midwest, North America. Everything, if you look at the drainage, it just kind of flows down through here. We have a high metal content. USGS, there was a Beckwith Creek study. It was a background metal study. I think it was dated 2012, and the USGS determined that our metals are higher levels than normal background, specifically lead and manganese, right? Going back to the carbonic acid reaction metals, corrosivity. So will you be pulling soil samples as part of the monitoring?
I do not know. The way that it's been presented is they're only looking to do that if they're seeing a problem, but it's certainly worth bringing, like when we get to the public comment period, it's certainly worth bringing up as something that, making that case that needs to be done. I don't think that's in the baseline rules right now.
I would highly suggest, based on our metal contents in the state, you need to look at the geological formations with the metal content. And lastly, more for your takeaway, and I'm not saying what to do, just like you tell us not what to do, sir. But if you're telling me, and I've looked at these permits, I have, right? And if you're telling me that those questions that you put in there to look at it from an environmental standpoint is an EIS, you really need to find somebody who does and understands NEPA, because that is the farthest thing from an environmental impact statement I have ever seen in my life. It answers nothing. It really, I could answer those questions with yes or no.
You talking about with the IT questions and stuff?
Yes.
Understood.
So it's not an environmental risk. You have not even broke the ground on looking at it from an environmental standpoint. Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, when you guys walked in here today, you got two pieces of paper, one's pink, one's white. The pink one has the names of the committee members that are going to be voting on Chuck Owens' House Bill 4, it is, to get that pushed onto the floor so they can vote on it. Write them. So they know that you are against this and help him get this bill pushed to the floor. It's not going to happen without all of us getting behind them. The white piece of paper, that is all our representatives for the surrounding parishes and us. Write them. We all know that Chuck and Rodney are standing against this. Write them anyway. If they get the mail, they have to back up. They have to have this in writing. They have to be able to prove my constituents do not want this. Write. If you write 3 letters a day, 7 days a week, go for it. They need to know this. Now, the last time I spoke to you was at the elementary school here in Leesville, when Capture Point was up here. They told us in that meeting that earthquakes will not happen and man-made earthquakes would be easy to control. That is what their geologists said that day, right? 3 days ago, there was an earthquake in Mississippi. It was 28 miles from a proposed well, which luckily they withdrew the permit for that one. That one is not going in. It was 28 miles from the well, and it was 71 miles from Satarsha. So if an earthquake can happen there, it can happen here. My husband, who spoke before me, he was talking about the permitting process and the way it is set up, right? There is no NEPA. Anytime there's federal money involved, and this is federal money, this is our tax money. They're taking our tax money to shove something down our throat that we don't want. We all know this. It's all about the tax credits. Take that into consideration. There is no NEPA process. It's federal funding. Look at the federal law. The EPA washed its hands off of this and put this in your hands. Make a more stringent process than what you have. A yes or no question sheet is not going to cut it. We don't know how this is going to affect us down the line. We don't know when it's going to leak. We don't know what's going to happen when it does. So you're going to be the authority on looking into how we can stop this. Nobody wants it here. They also told me at that time, and this was from the CEO of Capture Point, I'm also with one of the local fire departments, and I asked him, I said, well, what's your plan? And I was told, well, you don't have to worry about that. We have a plan for that, and we're going to be handling it. When the pipeline in Sulphur ruptured, it took an hour and a half for them to get there. They had to be notified by the people down there that this was happening. It's not acceptable. That's not acceptable for us as a fire department. Yes, state police has to lead on it, but we're still going to be the ones that are in there evacuating and doing all that stuff. We do not have the equipment. Add to your permit list if you can. They have to provide the equipment we need. There needs to be active monitoring on these pipelines. There needs to be active monitoring on these wells, especially when they are in a school zone. The kill radius, from what I have seen, can be up to a mile pending on what is released. Put into your permits that if you're going to put this on the ground, it has to be at least 3 to 5 miles from a school. It has to be 3 to 5 miles from a nursing home, any town, any village, any residence. It don't need to be close to any of the people because we can't go in, we can't get to them. The only way we may be able to stand a chance is if they provide us electric vehicles. And even then, we don't have the air. We have maybe 40 minutes if we're in shape. We can't get nobody out. The closest hazmat crew that we have here comes either out of Shreveport or Houston. That's a 2-hour drive and a 3-hour drive. There's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. The best one to me, I looked at a couple of these permits, right? And you guys need to tighten up the way you look at them. When I look at a permit and the seismic data on that permit that the company provided is older than me from 1969, and that's acceptable by the state, there is something fundamentally wrong. That is not how that should work. That seismic data should be no more than 5 years old. I don't understand why that's even a thing. That should have never been in the paperwork. That should have been caught by you guys prior to even putting it into review. Say, no, do it again. Get us the seismic data. Because the ground shifts, and we all know that.
Hello, I'm a healthcare professional, and I've worked here at the hospital for several years. None of this is personal to you, just so that you know. I have lived here my whole life, and I expect my daughter to live here as well. And I'm concerned about the long-term health effects. I don't think that a project this size, I don't think that the words try can be acceptable. We are going to try to locate all of these wells and case them with the proper, I've forgotten what you said. I don't think that's going to be possible. So it's not if the water gets contaminated, it's when. And what is this going to do health-wise, long-term to our children, our children's children? We live here because we like to drink well water. And also, who's going to be responsible? I am a respiratory therapist, so elevated levels of CO2 in the blood are not compatible with life. And it does not take very long to coma, respiratory failure, and death. So if one of these were to excrete large amounts of carbon dioxide, it's colorless, it's odorless. We would be completely unaware of the the issue at hand. So, and who's going to be financially responsible for that is my question.
That would be the operator.
That would be who?
The operator, whoever's operating the.
Okay.
That,
I just am not confident when the words try are used in a project this size. It makes me extremely uncomfortable, not only for myself, but for my daughter and our future generations that are coming. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I just want to be clear. I understand how the sausage gets made. You're here to, doing what you're supposed to do. You don't actually have necessarily the ability to stop this no matter what we say. We all know it. You know what I mean? But I'm not asking these questions tonight because of you. I'm not asking these questions for me. I'm asking them because I have 3 sons, okay, that are the 5th generation in my bloodline to till soil in this parish and make a living off of it. I tell people, the joke I tell people is I work in agriculture. The truth is I work in trades. I got a homestead that breaks even. But I had options, I had options. I spent my life savings, made a lot of mistakes, clawed my way back out of them, and put my kids in a way of life I wanted them to have, which was to grow up here, live here. And what you're proposing, I think I speak for all of us. This is too great of a risk to our livelihood. There's a lot of us have never had a problem with the oil and gas industry until today. A lot of us make a living in it. But we all love to fish. We all love to hunt. We all grow our own vegetables. We can't do that if the water dies. That's just simple. Again, my children are the 5th generation to make a living doing that. I spent my life savings doing this. If this stuff busts, if this happens, the worst happens. You acknowledge it's possible. Respect your honesty for that, okay? If the worst happens, again, like that fella over there said, our property values go through the floor. I don't have the money to go do this somewhere else. I lose everything. I wouldn't even know where to go. I am the sole responsible party for my elderly grandmother. I take care of everything for her. You mean to tell me that if something happens in the next 5 to 10 years, she has to leave the house she raised 2 generations of children in? Leave everything behind, assuming we make it out before the worst happens. So my question to you is, because I do believe this is close to your wheelhouse, with all due respect, sir, if the worst happens, if we can't make a living out here, we can't survive out here, we can't even go outside, what exactly are all of us supposed to do? What exactly is in place? What are we going to do? Is it going to be like when my uncle was in Miami during the hurricane? I get given a cup of coffee to blanket and I get charged $5 for the cup of coffee? Is that it? Is that what's going to happen? I mean, what do you honestly expect us to do? And I can tell you right now, you could give us the world and a lot of us would still not leave. Even before anything happened. Eminent domain, the worst comes to worst. We still would not leave. Because this is home. And a lot of sacrifices. I speak with that lady, the lady that came and said the same thing I'd like to say to you now. A lot of sacrifices were made by a lot of people to stay here. Good times and bad. I chose to come back. And I have no interest in giving that up or supporting anything that is going to jeopardize a way of life that is good, wholesome, and healthy for my 3 sons. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Audrey Roberts. I'm with the Vernon Parish RPEC. He just blew my mind. I'm 5 generations on my land, too. I appreciate you coming. You've given me information I didn't have before. But you've shown us that you know why we shouldn't be doing this. It's not up to you, I get that. But it is up to your committee to permit or not permit. Okay, there's 2 things I found in here. First of all, on the post-injection, that's when it's brought up, emergency services. Why is that on post-injection? That should be at the beginning.
It's highlighted there because that's a common question of whether there is anything there. they're required to have an emergency plan from day one. It's just particularly highlighted in that note because folks might have a question: is there still an emergency responsibility post closure? And yes, there is. That's not saying it's strictly post closure. We're just highlighting it there.
Okay, because the rural communities, we don't have those services.
Right.
So
that's why
that needs to be done first.
That's one of the reasons we require before they ever got a permit to inject. They have to coordinate with local emergency responders so that there's an understanding of what expectations are, what equipment is, what an appropriate response would be, things like that.
And your committee would make the rules on what happens in the case of damages. Am I right?
We would be the ones that would enforce that, yes, that what needs to be paid for out of whatever funding they have available.
Okay, then you need to have an idea of what those damages might be and what you can do about them.
Yes,
because you can't put that onto the company if you don't know. And I've had plenty of leaks out and about, and we do know. The other thing I wanted to ask about is the Wilcox 2 well, which was applied permit in 22. And now on 3/25/24, 1 year ago, it is being considered. So does that mean we have 6 months left?
What page you on, man? Is that one of the Class 6 applications?
Yes. Class 6 is actual injection. So do we have 6 months left?
I'm trying to catch up with you.
It's the, see, 1, 2, 3. 1,
okay,
2,
you're talking about the capture point one?
Yeah, capture point.
No, that says we've started DNR technical review on them. That could go any length of time depending on whether or not they have the answers to the questions we're looking for. They're not probably, neither one of their applications is moving anytime soon. From what I've talked to our staff, they've got a lot of questions that we don't have good answers for yet.
Okay. Those are my serious.
There's not a set time limit on it. Some may take longer than others depending on what they're presenting us as far as the quality of work they're doing, characterizing their zone, or we may see issues with that zone that they just can't overcome. It just depends.
Okay. That was my serious part. This is my demonstration. I've been practicing this. I may need to use this, but my question is, what program does the state of Louisiana have in place or will have in place to train me to train my sheep, dogs, horses, and cattle to open and close this bottle?
First of all, I want to thank you for your time. I too have gotten a lot of new information I didn't have here, and I've heard a lot of very valid points made tonight, which kind of caused me to question some things. And one of them was just from a speaker that just left the podium a few folks ahead of me about the permitting process, and that is, can it be revised? And if so, how does that process work to revise the rules and regulations for this?
Probably would either have to come down from the EPA saying they want to change, or maybe something in legislation changing. Because if we make a major change on our own hook, then that could cause the EPA to pull back primacy, which is basically the EPA retains the authority over all of these injection wells, but they can deputize the state, say, yes, your program looks good enough, you can handle it, we just keep an arm's length oversight over you. If we make a very dramatic change, they may pull that primacy back to say, okay, you've really altered what we gave you permission to do, so we're either going to have to pull it back completely or restart the process of going through primacy. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying that's probably what you'd have happen.
Okay, and the other option you said maybe was through legislation. Could you expand on
but
that?
that too might change. That too, if the EPA sees a major change, they might decide to rescind or review our primacy.
Okay.
That could happen.
Okay. You said you had 29 applications in your committee at this time, 29 entities applying for a total of approximately
29 projects. Some of them are multiple wells.
Okay, all right. I just want to say one thing. You know, we've heard a little bit about global warming, and you know, is it true? Is it not? Well, yes, it is true, because guess what? There was a thing called the Ice Age, and we all know that the Ice Age is no more. And guess what happened? Global warming. But the Earth is a living, breathing thing, and it cycles through. The global warming that ended the Ice Age was not caused by refinery emissions polluting the air. It's just because our Earth is a living entity. So, using fear tactics, you know, is kind of a ploy a lot of people want to use. Buzzwords like economic development sound really good to our politicians, but we all can think for ourselves, okay? And that's what we're doing here tonight, is thinking for ourselves. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Stacy, and I'm actually from here, but I live outside of Dolene. So I know the difference between an earthquake and an ammunition plant blowing up. So, and we are having them bad in our area, a lot. Third party geologist. What entity is that with? Is it with your group, or is it with LSU, college? Or
Are you talking about the ones where we bring in a third-party contractor to help vet?
Yes.
Those are private contractors. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but they are.
Are they government, federal employees?
No, those are private contractors.
Okay. If it's above your pay grade, as you had said earlier, that you don't make the laws and so forth, who can we send our GOIA complaint to? The Government Office of Accountability?
The complaint for what, ma'am?
If it's not above your getting answers to some of the questions, do we need to send it to?
It depends on the nature of the question. If it's anything we have jurisdiction over, send that one to us. If it's the questions of why is this allowed at all, does it serve any purpose, that would.
Or do we need to send it to like the EPA?
Possibly. I don't know that they would answer that because they're kind of in the same boat. They regulate, same as we do. That one might be one for federal legislators or someone like that.
Okay.
Because you're talking about we deal with the impact of, okay, if this thing is legal, how do you do it as safely as possible? If the question is why do it at all, or why should this be allowed at all, that's the lawmaker stage.
Okay. And can you give me the exact statute of law or code for the that you keep referring to when you're saying that it's the law?
Not off the top of my head, but I can pull. I mean, it's in the revised statutes where we created the ability to regulate the injection of carbon dioxide. If you give me your contact information, I can run that down for you.
Sure.
I do not know the site off the top of my head.
Yeah, because I'd like to know the U.S. code of it and the actual
Or
statute.
you want the U.S. code or the
Yes,
state?
I want both. I would like to have both. And then thirdly, are these companies receiving any federal subsidies of any form or fashion?
Some of them probably. I mean, I know there's a lot of them are taking advantage of those tax incentives. So I imagine most of them are in some way or fashion.
Okay. We're going to swap gears on you for a minute. We're going to talk money. Okay. Carbon Capture Incorporated received $10,400 and $14,990 for a new award for DEFE 003293 with
Carbon Capture Incorporated, titled Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Okay? And that's not the only one. LSU. And there's a place that's linked to California. Matter of fact, Carbon Capture Incorporated, child recipient, $10,000, or well, excuse me, let me correct myself, $10.4 million. Carbon Capture, UEI, 117-893-049, Legacy Dunes. The address goes to Los Angeles, California. Congressional District, California 34. And there's several more. There's one for Texas and Louisiana, for Austin College. All this with carbon capture. Now, not only that have I been digging, because I dig, I go to Data Republica, I go to Little Sis, I dig in all those. U.S. government. Some of this has even been linked to Denbury lobbying and paying certain people within Congress, Senate, running for seats, $1,000 here, $500 there, and the last year, 2 years. And y'all expect us to just let you come in and do what you're doing, and we're supposed to have faith in you and trust our government? We can't do that when the money's not being shown correctly. And there's tons of fraud. So I advise everybody, go to your usgovernment.gov website, start digging in your money trails. Go to Data Republica. Start digging in that money. Put in a name. Put in a company name. Put in the UIE, and it'll tell you exactly how it breaks down, where the money goes, to who, and how much, and to what corporation, what companies. Now, a lot of this is stemmed from, like I said earlier, it goes to a lot of this New Green Deal. A lot of these lobbyists getting kickbacks off of it. And that's why I asked you about the Government Office of Accountability.
I understand, man. I know there's a lot of federal money behind some of this.
So, thank you for your time and your service tonight. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
And we do need a better environment for our kids, but not at the expense of our children.
Hello, my name is Chantel Foster. I'm originally from Lake Charles, but God led me here to Leesville about 2 years ago. I've been all over because I like to move, but recently I had the desire for the first time in my life at 53 years old to purchase land. And I plan on doing it here in Leesville. I just realized tonight, and I'm sure you have also, sir, that this town is very smart, very intelligent, very passionate, very loving, and very dedicated to this place. And I'm so grateful that I'm here. I just want to remind everyone that a lot of things was above his pay grade, and he was honest to say that. And so that triggered me to get up here and remind that we do have something to do, and that's to pray. Nothing's higher than God's pray grade. There is no such thing. So I'm just here to remind us that we do have one more thing to do, and that's pray.
name is Chanel Chee. First of all, I want to start. I inherited my mom and them house and all the land on the house. So I'm struggling to keep the house. I just got the insurance on the well. I love the well water. You know how much it cost me to put a bill there instead to come out? Almost $1,500. My septic tank cost $1,300. But you know, God is good. He let me find some people that let me pay in payments to get it done. So if my well gets contaminated, who's gonna pay that bill for me? I'm trying to keep my parents' house. A lot of people in here work, pay their good money for their homes. I inherit my mama's house. My brother then wants to sell it, but it's a family home. Something we can come back to. And if I had to choose to die, I would want to die right there in my mom and them home, where I was struggling to try to keep it going. But you come in here with this pipeline, all this stuff, my kids ain't gonna know nothing about that. You don't know, ain't nobody here under 30. Under 30. They're gonna be here 20 years down the line to say, my mama, my dad, my grandpa tried to stop this. Because you know what? They ain't gonna know nothing about it till it's too late. Just like the government with COVID. Oh, we gotta take this shot. We won't get COVID no more. Listen to the government. I took the first shot. I was sick as I don't know what. Couldn't move, couldn't walk. Caught COVID anyway. Had the other 2 boosters. They sent me a text on my phone. I need to get a 4th shot. So why should I listen to the government when they don't know if it's gonna be safe or they can stop it? Can't nobody stop nothing in this world but God. God. Man-made can try to do stuff like talking man-made earthquake. You can't make no earthquake. You can't make no earthquake. I feel bad because you trying to demonstrate for your boss and give us the answers that we don't even understand. I know I don't. Where do you live at?
Lafayette.
Do you want pipelines coming through Lafayette where you live at?
Got pipelines that bracket inside of my house, man.
Okay, so you ain't worried about it.
I do worry about it, but I have to trust the folks who keep the regulations that they're making them do it right.
So if this pipeline passed, and I find that my well been contaminated, do I call you and you send somebody out to fix it?
If you see a report of something leaking, yes, very much, please call us.
Because I have American Water insurance on the well in my house that fits inside, outside line, pipe, and electricity. I don't think if something was to happen down the line that they would come out and fix it. I don't believe they would. I do not believe they would. So the government make a